Hi guys, welcome back to the 6th episode. So this is the lesson 5. We're going to start looking to a few routes that we didn't yet. We need to introduce the events page, and we need to do so that when you create a new event into the events page, this event will appear into the dashboard page. So we have a lot to do today, so I hope you have a nice day. Let's crack this on, right? So the first thing I was looking the dashboard. So if you go in pages, dashboard, the dashboard will show all the events. So the next thing we want to do, we want to create a new folder. This will be the events folder, events page, so that I don't have that icon. So events page folder. So here I'm going to create an index, and basically I will copy across the dashboard, but instead this will be the events page. So remember Command D, right? And then we do events page. This will be the events page. The first thing I want to do, I want to create a route to the events. So basically I will copy this will be the same, but instead here will be events, and here will be we can copy this and we can transform this to be the events page and pass the events page down to the events. I have both servers here, so my backend is running on the right, front end in the left. So let's have a look to our front end. If I do now -events, I have the events page. So one detail that I want to clarify straight away is about the routes, right? Right now you can see that even if I'm not logging, I can navigate directly to the page because the pages are not protected. So we're going to develop the page a little bit more, make the functionality so that everything works, and then we're going to have a specific video where we're going to introduce the session and we're going to protect the route. So you need to be logged in to see the page. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that. We're going to use probably JWT tokens, so you can hash all the data of the user and send that in the header so that we know that you have authorization to see the page. Now that we have the events page in place, we need to build that page, right? So that we can at least create the event, add the image. Remember that we have an image that we can upload to the server. So that's what we want to be focusing our time right now, and also into the dashboard page later on to be able to display these events. So the first thing that we want to do, we want to identify which user is connected, right? Because we will need to know which user are connected in order to allow the user to create the event. So inside the dashboard, the first thing I want to get is the user ID, right? And this user ID, if you remember, we are using the local storage from the previous episode, so we can get the item user, and this should return the user ID. If you console that log user ID, and we let me see if I have an error here. Oh, it gets item here. Yeah. So now if you refresh that and you look the console, we have an ID there, right? So this is the user ID. So we know who is him, who the user are. So the next thing that we want to do, we basically want to create an event. So if you come back to the backend, let's look what the event is made of, right? So that we are on the same page. So when we need to create the event, we want a title, we want a description, price, thumbnail, which sport it's going to be, and the date, right? This date, it will be not when the event is created, but when the event is going to be, right? And then of course, passing the event ID, passing the user ID, we can have the user there. So the first thing I will do, I'll copy this, I will close the event, I will come back to the events page, and I will create here. I will do just so that I can see what I need to do, right? Without being like going forward. So that helps. So the dashboard will have the events, and the events page also will need the user ID. So the next thing that we want to do here is create a few things that we will need. So in this case, we want to create a title. So remember the use state. So we're going to use that here now. Set use state. So this will help us to set the state. So here basically we're going to have title, set title. This is equals to use state, empty string. So I'll copy this to be a little bit quicker a few times. So now we can have a description. This will be a send description. We will have price. This will be set price. We will have thumbnail. So this will be actually the file. So in order to upload the file, we can, right? But so we will need the thumbnail and set thumbnail. Let me think if we're going to need anything else. The event date, right? Yeah. So here we can say date and set date as well. So now that we have all the properties that we need, basically the next thing that we can do is start to create this form, kind of form that we're going to have, right? And then we can add some kind of validation, little basic validation, and we can create a method to post for us using the API. So I'm going to import the API already. So we're going to need that API from, we have our API inside the services API. I will delete that now, and we can start to build our form. So basically we will need a form to build that here. Okay, so I'm going to import a few things that we used before so that we can reuse that. So if you go to the login event, we kind of have a form, input, container, all the things that we're going to need. So we can come back here. Let's paste that here. And then basically we're going to start with a container. Inside this container, we can add an h1 for now. This will be create your event. Then we're going to have a form. So then inside the form, we're going to start to add all the elements that we're going to need. In this case, I think I'm going to use labels as well. So that will be a little bit more descriptive. So label, and then inside the form, we can, first things first, let's add here on submit. This will be a function. We need to create a function to pass here. For now, I will just define as handle submit. I think submit handler is better. Submit handler. And then let's define this function here. So this will be a const submit handler, so just that. I'm missing the equals here, so now as a function everything works. So the first thing that we want is actually to create a label saying images. So let's create a label. This label will be called upload image, and then I will copy this label again because we're going to use soon. So then we're going to have an input, and this input basically will be, we can do like that. So we'll have a few properties inside this input. We're going to have an ID that will be named thumbnail. We're going to add a style a little bit later, class name as well. We will need to do bits and bobs of things there, but the type is important, that is a file type. So because that will bring that option that you click to see the things that you need to do. And on change, we're going to do a function call here that basically will pass the events to the thumbnail. So here we're going to have a function that will take an event, EVT or event. I like to use EVT quite a lot. So then the events are going to be passed to the set thumbnail, and then this will be the event target. In this case, because it's a file, we have a property inside files, and this will be the first file because we're not uploading many files, because this is an array. Files is an array inside targets, so we want the first element only. So now if we go to our page, so far we have an upload image. Let's add to the event upload image. This is like that. There's a thing that we can use that is kind of a form group, and then we can put stuff in the same, basically in the same line. But for now, let's have everything that we need inside, right? So the next thing that we would have, it would be an image. Yeah, we want to display what image we are uploading, right? So we would have a tag here that will be image. This image will have a source. This will be a little bit different. So we'll provide you a file. You will be able to find this file inside our GitHub. So right now, stop what you're doing, go to the GitHub, download the file from the page. So we're going to have a file. This file will be inside a folders called assets. So let's create folder assets. I will drop by the files now, but essentially we're going to have a few things that we will use. But initially I just want to pass by this asset. This is a camera icon asset. I will rename that to be just camera. Okay, so I like shorter names, it's up to you. You can rename if you want to, but basically what we're going to do, we're going to import that, and inside our app we're going to import that so that we can use, and you're going to see what I mean by that. So let's come back to there. Let me close these things that we're not using. So here now I want to import, I'll say camera icon equals from so this will be the assets. So I've inserted that in the back end. This is in the front end, so this is a mistake. Be careful. Right now I should have this. So will be, just to make sure, assets, yeah, camera.png. This will be a camera icon instead. And now inside image we can pass camera icon, and we will have a few extra things inside this. We will have a style later on, because for now let's just style here so that it doesn't get too big. So I'll just say max width, and this will be 50 pixel, something like that, so that we can start from there. And the next thing I want is passing out. This will be upload icon image, and then now we can close this. This is the autocomplete. I prefer when it's just one line, do like so. So now we have the icon there, right? And we will style that so you will click in the icon. This will be hidden, and we're going to do something like that. I have something in mind already, so you don't need to worry about. So the next thing that we want, we can use another label and another input. Let me just confirm something. React strap, we have a property inside. So if you go again to the React strap and you go to the forms, let's go for components, form. So inside the form you have what we call form group, right? And I want this label, I want this form group so that we can split the things, right? Like so. So much better now. We have form groups there, so it's all fine. This is probably will add some paddings and blobs for us, and the code will look better, and you can use that as a container if you want to style. So yeah, that becomes a div essentially, and it has just margins. So that's exactly what we needed. So now the next thing that we want, you can kind of copy this form group, and let's create another form there. The next thing that we want to add will be the export. So let me think. You have image, then you're going to have a export. The export will be basically, I'm thinking if we do like with predefined values, or if you type the sports that you want, because like maybe I have in mind triathlon, running, cycling and other things, but maybe you have a different idea. Maybe you're not even doing sports, you could doing like a similar app with using other theme inside, right? So I think I will keep that simple as a string for now. Maybe we can revisit that and change it for something else. I don't know, leave the comment with some suggestions that you have, and we can do as you prefer. So basically this will be sports. So then we need to change that to sport. By the way, we don't have sports there. So let's add a sport. I'll add here const sport, set sport. This will be equals use state. So this is will be sport, on change will be set sport. This is will be dot value instead, and we won't have the image icon, but a property that we can use, we can do here two things that we're not doing. We can have a placeholder. This is will be like sport, a string, sport name, and the type will be different, will be text. Like so. So you can type ha. This is will set the values there. Let me think. Oh, we're missing the value as well. So you want to make sure that you have a value property inside, and this value will be exactly the property that you're setting here. And this is so that you can keep the value. So see what I mean by that. Running. So now running is there, and if I change the value or if I reset the value when I'm doing the handler here, perhaps like after save, I can do a clear all and clear all of these properties. And then what happens is, if you don't have a value here, this will be the property sport will be clean or be an empty string, but whatever the user typed before will be here, because like you're not assigning the value to that. So this is a thing that we need to keep in mind. After this one, basically now will be a little bit of copy and paste. We're going to add a title. So here will be title, event title, set title. Here will be event description. So we can do event description here, and here basically will be set description, and then the thumbnail will be the value of, let me see, we're missing the thumbnail. I'll come back. Let's finish that. I will come back to the thumbnail. We're going to do something I think is going to be cool. Okay, another thing we're going to have is the event price. So then now we can have a group that will be event price, and then this will be price. This will be price, event price. So the price, you in the placeholder, you can, in this case, like I'm working with pounds here because I'm in the UK. So what I'm going to do is show the format here so that you know how you need to set up the price. Anyway, we're going to handle that, converting that. And another thing that we will need, we will use a button here. That basically will be a submit button, right? So we're going to have a button. This button, basically, we're going to style them as well, but there will be type of submit, and what we can add inside is a text that means like create event, something like that, right? So far you can pick up a file. Let me see if I have a file here, a thumbnail one. So thumbnail name is there. So you can change the file. This is cool. Let me have a look how we could handle this. So I think I have an idea. I think we're going to create another label there so that we can style it a little bit and hide some stuff. So if you have an image, This is the icon image. So I think we can add before the input. I think this is going to work. We can have a label here. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to style that. I'm going to use ID thumbnail. And what are we going to do? We're going to do a style. This is, we'll have a background image property. And this background image will be a URL. We're going to use another preview tag if we have one. So right now we don't have anything as a preview. So there's a thing quite nice that we can do with React so that we can refresh the page and do not lose this property. So we're going to do here a const preview. We're going to use another hooks that is called use memo, because if you look at the definition, it will only compute the memorized value when one of the dips has changed. So it doesn't refresh that, it keeps it like a memory. So we're going to use these hooks. So this is a function that takes another function, is a factory. So inside we're going to return the thumbnail if we have it, and then it will be a URL dot create object URL thumbnail. Otherwise, if we don't have that, will be null. And then this is with use memo works pretty much as like use effect. This is a hook. So we want to pass here a thumbnail as in the array, because this means every time that this change, the value of thumbnail change, I want you to refresh this property. So this is like a guide for the use memo to know when it needs to do something. It's a hook pretty much. So it's like, when do I need to like trigger this function? So you need to trigger this function when thumbnail, because it's inside here. If I didn't want to trigger never, I could pass an empty array, but I'm passing thumbnail. This is in the React docs. You can read more about that. I strongly suggest you to do so, because unfortunately I don't have enough time to go super deep into that. But let's grab again like this image here, right? Now what we can do basically is add a little bit of styling. So inside the dashboard, the events page, we're going to create a new file, and this file is going to be events.css. So we're going to start the label, and a label that has a thumbnail. Oh, by the way, so this is, so we don't want that ID here. So we want the ID in this label only. So we can style that here. So this will be a label that has an ID thumbnail. And then what we're going to do is a margin bottom 20 pixels. And then a border with 1 pixel, a background size cover, because this will cut the image to fit, a cursor, we want a pointer, so that looks a little bit more professional, a display, we want flex here, so we can justify the content as a center and align the items. Align the items as a center as well. So now that we have that, I think the height could be 60 pixels or so. Yeah, I think 6 pixels probably will work for what we need. So now that we have that, we also want to do a label. This is the tricky thing. basically the same thing, but we want to hide the input, right? So inside the label thumbnail, we have an input, and we want to display that as a none, because that will hide the other input, the original one. And we want to do also a label. Let me copy here, thumbnail label dot has thumbnail. Will be a border 0. We're going to do a few things with classes, and then this will be basically the image, and we want to have here display none as well. So basically we want to come back here now, and then inside the thumbnail, where we have this function with the URL, we want to use another, let me do all the short versions so that we're not confused. Here we want to pass a class name. This class name will be, if you have thumbnail, right? So I'm checking if you have a thumbnail, it will be has thumbnail, otherwise will be an empty string. I think that will be important for us is inside the thumbnail here, instead of pass a string, will be a null, because we want to be null in case of we don't have any image, so that this logic here that we just implemented works. This logic here. Oh, there's a thing that we're missing here. So this thumbnail, actually, it will be wrapping this both thumbnail here. So this label. So we want to close this label just at this point, because the CSS that we wrote, like so. Then now the next thing that we need to do is basically coming back here. Let's import the CSS. When you're importing the CSS, it's important that it is the last thing that you have, and you just import it. Don't use from. In this case, this is our CSS. Now, as you can see, we hided the input, but can you see how the mouse changes when you hover here? So that's exactly what we wanted. So if you see here, when you click here, the thumbnail, we have a height here of 6 pixels. It could be probably 120 pixels, I think. So let's change that. I think it will look much better. And then let's try to upload a file here to see how that would look like. Yeah, so we have a file. It's being displayed here, but it's not fitting exactly what we want. So we have a few things that we can try, at least like to have a much better image. So the background has a cover. So this is the contain property. We could use a contain and a non-contain. And if you do background repeat, and you can say no repeat, this is probably will get us where we want. So let's see that again. Yay! So we have a preview image here. Yeah, that's good. That's not too bad, really. So at least you have a preview of the image that you want to post. And then what we want to do now is see if that's actually correspondent with what we're expecting to be. So we can try to, let's log this out. Let's focus on creating the events now. So let's try to do this. Both we know that was working. Title, description, price, sport. Yeah. We also missing the event date, so let's start adding the event date before we forget. So this is will be event date, this will be date, type will be date input, date, set date. So now see how this is handled that for us. So you can create an event at this day, the sport name will be running, the title of the event will be 5K run, and event description, let's run 5K on Sunday. The event price, that will be, let's run 5K on Sunday. Event price can be, oh, the event price is not working, we have a typo there, so let's look what we have. Event price, oh, that's why, set price, this is the price one, so that's why. So running 5K, so event description, see, let's run 5K on Sunday. The event price will be £12. The day, let's pick the next Sunday so that we follow what we say. So in this case I'm recording today, so it would be tomorrow. So now what I'm expecting is, if you send that, actually it was all there, so I don't know what I did that, but that's all fine. Yeah, let's fill that again. So we have all the values that we needed. Basically what we can do now is, inside our function submit handler, the first thing that we want to do is take an event here, event, and then we're going to do the same that we did before, event.prevent default. So this is so that when you click here it's no longer refreshing the page. And then after doing that, we won't, actually we can bring this user inside here because we want to know who is the user just at this point. And the date we can do, let's create exactly what we need. We can const event data, this is will be a new form data, and then we can use now these to create all the data that we need, so that it's a little bit easier for us to send that. So now we can say events.data dot append, and then we can say here the thumbnail will be the thumbnail. And just so that you understand what I'm doing here, I will open the insomnia, right? So if you look, this is a multi-part form. This is exactly what we're doing here with form data. So we can do event.data and now append. We'll need to send the sport. This is will be sport. You can do event data.append. The next thing will be we have the sport, we need a title. This is will be title. We can copy and paste a little bit here sometimes. So the title, price will be price. We will need a description. So that will be description. port we send already, the thumbnail we send already, the date will be the date. Yeah, that's all. Once we have now this object all constructed, basically what I want to do is do a big check here, because like we want to check against the default values, right? So we know that all of them apart from the thumbnail, they're all strings. So basically you can, this is like a ridiculous validation. This is not even cool, but we're going to start with that. We can improve later on. So basically what we can do here is say if title equals to empty string, and actually, so what we want to do here, if title is different, from empty string, and basically we can say if the description is different than empty string and price is different than empty string and sport is different than empty string. Oh, I miss an end here. And the date is different than an empty string, and thumbnail is different than null. Just in that case, we want to do something, right? I think this becomes a little bit more readable if we do that. Now we can format that. This is much better. We can send this down as well. This will be here. So now we want await the API.post. We will send that. Let's check the routes there again. So we want to create an event. So we will post to event. So will be dash event. The second argument will be the event data. And this is the important part now. We want to send the headers that will have, this is an object, and will have the user ID. Because we're going to use that inside. Oh, it's giving me an error here. Cannot use keyword await outside from a sync function, and that's why we missed that. So basically now we're going to be able to create this event. And in order to do so, we can try fetching that, right? So what we can do, let's basically do that together. Go in event, take a photo. We can see the preview. The sport will be running. The event title will be test, title test. It'll be like 5k run. I will use that. We didn't create before. Price will be 12 and the run will be on Sunday. So now if I post that and everything works, basically we should have an event inside the API with this data. If we send that, it seems that all worked because we didn't have any error here. So let's look here for the API. So we didn't have any error here. So if you remember, and if you go to localhost 8,000, we have the status. Then we can go to events. Let me check the routes again. Dashboard, get our events. Right. So if we go to dashboard, we have all the events. Let's see. Look this third event here. 5 run description. Doesn't look like. Does that look like what we sent? It doesn't, right? So let's do try and catch, and let's create another one again. So that's fine by me. Basically, we can do here try catch. If that doesn't work, what we want to do is basically a console.log the error.message that we are sending down, right? We are sending an error object with a message inside. So let's come back to the form. So we want to go pick an image. This will be running 5K, Sunday, 12 pounds, days. Oh, we have a typo here, guys. This is a typo. We need to invoke the constructor, right? So this is my explain why. So let's try again. So it's basically we're trying to create an event without anything inside, and that's why probably it's not working. I hope that that's why it's not working. Okay, so now if I refresh that, it doesn't seem that it's going here. Okay, so let's debug that in the backend, right? So we have the backend here. Okay guys, I found the issue, and I'm happy to tell you that the issue wasn't in the front end. So I did modify a little bit some stuff, but the issue was in the backend, right? So I'm going to show you where exactly was the issue. So if you go to the routes, and we have a route that gets dashboards, that gets our events, and if you go inside the gets our event, I will show you how the code was before. So if I do Ctrl Z, that was exactly how the code was, right? So what happens is the query comes by, sport is undefined because I'm not sending anything, and then we pass a query as undefined. So what I did to fix that was basically add sport. So I'm checking, do I have a sport property? If I have, I want to use sport as a query. Otherwise, this is a ternary expression, send an empty object, because in MongoDB, an empty object means brings everything from the table to me. So that was the issue. It wasn't here, it was here. So when you refresh, the event wasn't being loaded. It was being loaded just 3 events for some reason, because I was passing undefined. So we can test that. If I pass undefined, it doesn't return anything. So now if you go to dashboard, it loads everything, including the many attempts that we have done together. So you can see 5 can run test, or you can see let's run 5K on Sunday, price 12. If you come by to here and change that to 199 pounds and change the data to the next Sunday, the 31st, and send an event, we can come back here and look, the last event, 199 pounds. So this is working now. So this is cool because now we can continue. Basically what we need to do now is coming back to the events page. I'm so sorry about this debugging. It took a while so that I figure out what was wrong. So let me close everything that we are not using. So the events page, I did modify a little bit things because I was testing. So basically what I did, I create a try and a catch. So as soon as you do this, if you have a try and a catch, and we're not doing that in the right way, so this if actually needs to come inside the try and catch. So we want to do that. Let me remove that. So because now try and catch, this is coming by from the event. So now I have an extra pair here. I don't need that. So now what I want to do is inside the try and catch, do that and wrap this here. Otherwise, I can send an error saying you need to fill all the information or missing required data or something like that. We're gonna add more and more stuff here, so you shouldn't be worried about that right now. So what we can do here is else. So basically here we can say what we can say is send an error saying that something didn't work the way we expected, right? So we can say I see, we can set an error message. So that's how we're going to do that. So basically we're going to come here and say const error message, set error message, and we're going to use state to do that. This will be an empty string for now. And then basically what we can do something like that. We can do a set error message as a true. So yeah, this should be boolean actually. Yeah, so this will be false as a default value because it's a boolean, it's not an empty string. And then if that is true, we can handle the error, right? So right now what we want to do is like a set timeout. This is a function that takes another function. Basically this creates an interval for us. So I want to say this is set error message to false after some while. And then what we can do here is a second argument puts like 2 seconds or so. And then basically we can for now console.log and say missing required data. So what I want to do with the set message is basically create another place inside of the message of our code that will show some information, right? So because now I have a boolean value that will work, I can come back here in the end of our form, but inside the container, and I can say this is how you do JavaScript inside the JSX. So you do error message is true. If that is true, I want to do a div that basically will say missing required information. If that is false, I want to render a string only. So this doesn't render anything. Basically now, if you do that, missing required information, right? And then what we can do to get this is even better. So you go for React strap, this is what I like about this. So you can see, oh, this is a danger alert. So we can change that. So a danger will be this one. So if you come back here for code, let's change that to an alert. And then the danger, the alert needs to be imported on top. So now they will handle that for us, right? And what we can do to be even better, we can add a class name. Class name is how you add classes inside of JSX. So this will be a login. This will be an event validation, basically. And then inside that CSS that we wrote, we can look for adding this as a let me see how we can, let's me see how it's looking in the front end. So you have an event button. This is inside the form, outside the form, but it is inside the container. Okay, so we can do basically a dot container and then dot event validation, and if that is true, you say if that is true, you do like a margin top 12 pixel. So then now if you do that, let me see. There's something wrong with the names. I think we can target directly. That will work. Yay. So yeah, so basically if you have any error, it will show here. Also, what you can do, you could pass, if that's your desired, you can actually create another property that you check iterating which one is empty, and you could return saying the mail is not complete. There you have it. So now we have at least a message that's saying that is missing some information, and this video becomes quite long already. So that's it for this episode. The next episode we're going to create the dashboard, and we're going to list all the things that we have inside the dashboard. We will add the rest of the buttons. We will finish styling our application. We're going to add more CSS images, and I hope that you are enjoying this series so far. And that's it, guys. Thanks very much. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And remember, please leave your comments and you subscribe, and also smash this like button. This helps quite a lot the series, and that helps to spread the video for more people interested in learning this amazing stack. See you guys in the next video.